Good evening, all you wonderful people out there in Raiderland. Man, it's Friday night, and what can I say? I am so jacked to be here right now, especially after that performance Sunday. Man, I don't know what to say. I'm sure me and Jim will find the words to explain what took place in that football game. And as you know by now, I fight that West Coast bias on Wednesday nights with Josh Matson, and here on Friday nights, man, we do a little something different here that's near and dear to my heart. We fight that Raider Nation bias one show at a time. And we have ourselves one hell of a time while we do it also. And as you know by this point here, fighting Raider Nation bias, it's never a one-man operation. So I would like to introduce to you the one man that I do trust in this operation, my brother of another color, my co-host with the most. And when we are together, we are the NGSC Blackhole Brigade. I'd like for you to give a big Raider welcome to my main man, Jim Paskowitz. Hey, how are you feeling over there, Jim?
I'm feel this week. I'm feeling great. There's nothing like a win over the Denver Broncos. Nothing.
Yeah, exactly. I don't usually say this on the day. Beating Denver is even better than sex half the time, especially after these guys have just been punching us out over the last 4 years. It was really, really good to get that victory.
Exactly.
Man, but Denver, though, they have one hell of a defense. In that first half, Derek Carr, man, that guy, he could not get off track. I mean, I don't know what to say about his first half performance. It was bad.
Well, in fairness, it was the entire offense. I mean, they had negative 12 yards at the half. I had to do a double take because, you don't see that often.
Yeah, that's wild. You don't see that too often where an offense has negative yards at the half here. I mean, that was just pretty much wild. That's crazy here. And before we move on here, one more thing I like to say here to the fans here. I mean, you can be anywhere in the world tonight, but you're here with me and Jim, and we just like to let you know we appreciate that from the bottom of our heart. So thank you, Raider Nation. We're going to try to get you the best show that we can. And when the Raiders win football game, it ain't hard. And moving on here, man, that defense, though, they kept us in the game that first half. I mean, when you got negative 12 yards just total offense, and you're only down 12-0, I mean, a lot has to be said for your defense, keeping Denver out of that end zone. So I was very proud of them. What was your thoughts on how they played that first half?
Absolutely. That seems to be the killer. Either when the Raiders do it or when their opponents do it. Whenever you cannot score touchdowns, when you have to kick a lot of field goals, that's when the other team seems to stay in the game just enough to push towards to make a comeback right at the end. And to me, 4 field goals, that defense was pretty good that first half because, I mean, Denver could have logically went out and been up 28-0.
Well, yeah, 28-0, I don't think anybody's coming back from that. But, yeah, 12-0 was pretty manageable, though. And I guess we did catch a little bit of luck also because on that last drive of the half, I mean, Osweiler, he overthrew Virgil Green. Then, I mean, Demaryius Thomas seemed to have some kind of shoulder issue. He would have had a touchdown if he could have held on to the ball there. So we did catch a lot of breaks. And the good thing is, Jim, we've watched a lot of Raider football over the years here, and the Raiders don't usually catch those breaks, which makes me think the worm is beginning to turn here. I mean, Denver dropped a lot of passes, left a lot of points in the red zone, and, hey, things are starting to turn around in our favor. So you got to be pretty encouraged by that.
Well, I was a bit shocked when at that final drive they had the ball 1st and goal at the Raider 2. And I'm thinking, at least once they're going to try and run the ball. But then they came out and ran 3 straight pass plays. And
well, the other thing with that, though, Jim, is Denver had no timeouts at that point also, though.
Well, true enough, but they could have at least attempted one run. I was kind of really surprised that they didn't because they have a solid running game when they choose to use it. But
no doubt.
That was the break to me is when they held them to that last score that close to the goal line before the half. That was the key.
Oh, yeah, I'd have to agree with you there. I mean, 12-0 is a lot different than going into the half than it is 16-0, especially when you get the football coming out for the second half. Because, I mean, the way the Raiders play offense, I mean, 2 possessions is nothing. They just had to get that ball rolling down the hill. Once they did, I mean, it was all upside Denver's head in that second half. And Latavius Murray, I know that he only had 35 yards rushing, But I do think that he was starting to land a few body blows himself in the second half of that game. So regardless of his stats, I was actually very proud of his performance also.
Yeah, and he had 16 carries, so again, they didn't quit on it. I mean, they kept trying it and trying it and trying it. And, you know, credit where it's due. I mean, that Denver defense is really, really good. I watched, I was paying special attention to Talib on Cooper, and he did an absolute shutdown job on him. It was an incredible job. And credit where it's due, that defense is really, really good. And for them to move the ball in the second half, unfortunately I didn't quite pick up on the adjustments they made, but clearly they did something at halftime that was the key.
I think what happened in the second half was pretty much a severe tactical error on Denver's part offensively. You lining Khalil Mack 1-on-1 against a guy who obviously can't block him, and Mack is just killing the guy every time. And you can also see Mario Edwards starting to get pushed up the middle also in that second half, which was allowing Khalil Mack to get the time to finish the sacks. So good play just as a whole by the defensive line in the second half.
I haven't seen a defensive end, particularly for the Raiders. Well, I mean, you could make the argument, Reggie. I sat here and forgot his name, the defensive end for the Eagles.
Reggie White,
yeah. Got a blank. Sorry about that. You could make the argument that he was that dominant, and he was. But I haven't seen a Raider do that since Howie Long.
Derek Burgess kind of had some big sack years for us also in the early to mid-2000s. But, yeah, Khalil Mack, he just got in the zone, though.
Yeah, but not like that. I mean, he was absolute, and it was all, except for one sack, they were all basically power sacks. He just
pushed that guy right into Osweiler.
Yeah, he just pushed the right tackle right back into the pocket. It was one of the most impressive single performances I've ever seen.
Yeah, I mean, I have no problem with it. I mean, I was up there getting just pumped up that whole second half. I'm like, it got to a point, though, where every time Osweiler was dropping back, I'm not even looking at the receivers downfield. I'm looking at Khalil Mack trying to get to Osweiler. And I never do that with the defensive line. I'm up there watching the hoot and burn DJ Hayden. So, yeah, it kind of changed my whole viewing habits in the second half.
Yeah, and Osweiler, he just had no time, and he couldn't even step up because, like you pointed out, Mario Edwards was getting enough pressure up the middle where there was nowhere for him to go. And that was the key in the second half. You're absolutely right about that. The job Khalil Mack did was dominating.
Yeah, and we had something else happen that hasn't taken place for the Raiders in quite some time. Exactly 4 years to be exact. And it happened against the team that we're actually going up against Sunday. The Raiders scored a safety for the first time in 4 years on that Khalil Mack sack on Osweiler in the end zone.
Yes, they did on the fumble. Yeah, I was hoping it would be a touchdown, but the Denver offensive lineman jumped on it. But a safety's a safety. Points are points.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it kept the momentum rolling, though. And then you got to also love the adjustment that Bill Musgrave made early in the fourth quarter on the 3rd and 15 on the second touchdown there, where, I mean, Denver's been jumping that bubble screen all day long here, and they actually they fake the screen, and they get Michael Rivera wide open over the middle, and Carr just drops the dime to him to put the Raiders ahead 15-12. But the thing, Rivera, he's just a very frustrating player. As you can see, he almost dropped that touchdown pass.
Yep. When they drafted him, I took a look at his college highlights and stats, and he's one of those guys that just for a tight end, he's got incredible speed. He's an average run blocker, but he's got some pretty good speed for a tight end. It's intriguing to think about, but he's just never quite gotten it down, it seems.
Yeah, I do believe that going into cap next season, Clyde Walford will probably be the starting tight end. But that guy, he just comes on, and every week he just does things that make you say, wow. and we haven't had that from a young tight end in quite some time. I do think Rivera will stick around with the Raiders because they're going to probably try to go with that two tight formation like, say, Gronk and Hernandez was before he just went total gangster. And I do think the Raiders with Walford and Rivera could pull something like that off.
Yeah, they're two pretty decent tight ends. Like you said, Walford keeps getting better and better each week. And I don't think it'll be long before he does take the starting position. He's not that far away right now. But
it wouldn't bother me.
No.
And another guy I got to give props to also, Seth Roberts. We talk about this guy every week. It seems like every time we need a big play, he's the one getting into the end zone, and he gets the job done. He did it again Sunday. Man, yes, I'm telling you, this guy's not going anywhere. He's a Raider for life. Seth Roberts.
He's basically cemented that third wide receiver spot. And like I talked about a couple weeks ago, that's where I expected someone like Rod Streeter to be. But Seth Roberts has been the one to step up. And he's done it week after week after week. He's been the guy. And you can't take that away from him. You can't sit him down. Got to give him more opportunities, especially with Talib doing such a good job on Cooper. It was nice to see Carr look somewhere else and be able to find someone else and depend on other receivers.
Well, that's a huge step in the maturation of Derek Carr there, Jim. He knows that he doesn't have to force the ball to Cooper and Crabtree to be successful now. You got guys such as Marcel Reese and Seth Roberts that can help you. And say you want to just throw the big ball up, you got a young athlete over there in Andre Holmes, rather. And I'd love for him to stick around also, because I do believe that Holmes can be very effective in a situational role for the Raiders. Although I don't see really much of a role here for Rod Streeter anymore. Although it was a great story. He played well for us for 3 seasons. But there's really no room here now with this new regime here for Streeter. I say trade him and see what you can get.
Yeah, suddenly our receivers are looking pretty good. It was a big weakness a year ago, but now, I think you're right. I think we should look to deal Streeter and see, even if it's just a 7th round pick, still something we can get for him.
Yep. And another thing before we move on from this Oakland-Denver game here, Jim, I hope that Amari Cooper isn't discouraged by this performance. You went up against an all-pro corner, and he just pretty much just shut you down. It happens from time to time. I'm sure in the future, Cooper, he'll make some adjustments, and he'll be ready for the next time around. So don't take this as an indictment on your skills or anything. You just played against a great corner and a great defensive system, and, hey, we got the job done, so don't worry about your numbers. Not that I think Cooper is the kind of guy that worries about that kind of thing anyway.
Yeah, Talib is just that good. He's one of the top cornerbacks in football. And even though he's a Bronco, I can give him that much credit. But, I agree. I hope he's not discouraged, and I hope he doesn't start getting down on himself. I don't think he will, but Talib just did that good of a job on him, and you pick up and you go back this week. Because I don't think Green Bay has a cornerback that'll be quite like that.
No, Sam Shields and Demarius Randall. I don't ever like to disrespect anybody, as you say all the time, Jim. But those guys are not Akeem Talib and Chris Harris. So Cooper and Crabtree should be able to win their fair share of matchups in this game Sunday. And they're definitely going to have to for us to even have a chance here. If we come out and rest on our laurels just because of what we did Sunday, or there's just no energy, Aaron Rodgers and Green Bay, they'll get us out of there real fast. So we have to play with that same intensity, I believe.
Well, and I'm also going to give a shout-out to someone who probably doesn't usually get it, but last Sunday he was incredible. King, the punter.
Yeah, Marquette King. Man, he did a lot of things that we've never seen Shane Leckler do for a while. He knows he was pinning that ball perfectly inside the 10 every week. So, yeah,
yes,
I understand why you want to give King the love. But, hey, I'll let you go ahead and give him his shout-out. Go for it, Jim.
Because Shane Leckler was a fine punter when he was here, when he was with the Raiders. But I appreciate King more because he understands field positioning, understands